Oahu? No. The cost would just be too prohibitive. So, again, you know how you swim, I do not. It's very difficult to get into any type of real serious jeopardy with snorkeling equipment. It's when you go beyond your abilities, that's when you get in trouble. When you go into the water, you employ the buddy-buddy system. 2 people. You never go into the water by yourself, and you most definitely do not leave your partner by themselves. So I always suggest you might want to stay within the reef area. Yes, you might see people beyond the reef, but they might be at a higher degree of skill level than you're at. Most of you will probably just do some recreational swimming in front of your hotel. But if you go outward, try to stick to beaches that have lifeguards. If you go to a beach where there are no lifeguards, pay attention, especially at high tide, because the probability of rip currents developing at high tide are much greater. We have 2 highs and 2 lows throughout the day. They change roughly every 6 hours. Maximum tidal height change 2.5 feet. Rip currents parallel a shoreline, and you could be in a foot or 2 of water and just be sucked out like a little vacuum cleaner. You want to, the natural inclination again is to fight the current. No, keep your wits about you and flow with the current. Okay? And then eventually you'll be able to make your way out of it, and by that time the lifeguards will come to your assistance. So always flow with the current and keep your wits about you. The status of the world's coral reefs are in extreme jeopardy. In Hawaii, fair to good. That's not a great assessment of reefs in the islands. This is Mauna Loa Bay, off to our left. This bay is dying. A lot of it has to do with silt, but also invasive seaweeds that have been introduced or found their way in. There is a program which is now well underway, and what they're doing on the right hand side, there's about 50 acres that they're starting to clean up. They got about a $3 million grant. They got a year to clean it up, and then they're going to go to Maui and start the program there.
Look at the mother with the little one on the surfboard.
About 15 acres, and they've already noticed some marine life coming back, but they've also pulled out over 400 tons of seaweed. What are they going to do with that stuff? Well, they're going to dry it out, mulch it, and it's going to make some pretty good fertilizer. So there are a lot of things that you can do, like when you watch that video at Hanauma Bay, to preserve and protect coral reefs. This at one time was a live piece of calcium-based coral. This type of coral will change color. The other type of coral, known as protein, will not change color. That's the kind of coral that they use in the local jewelry industry. Coral is made up of what's known as a polyp. It's a living organism. You know, one of the most protective things you can ever see in the water, when we've done this, is when rice coral just lets itself go. It's just populating the whole reef, and it just, you see it at night, thousands of these polyps. So it takes thousands of years for coral reefs to form themselves. When you're in a coral reef setting, look, 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 do not touch, do not walk, set your foot, or dive in on a reef. Because if you break off 1 inch of coral, which is about the length of your fingertip, it'll take approximately 25 to 40 years for the 1 inch of coral to grow back. Due to global warming, the ocean's water temperature is starting to rise dramatically. 80% of the coral reefs in the Caribbean have been affected by bleaching. What that means, when that water temperature rises to that certain degree, the pigment of the coral is bleached out. It turns white. It's generally an irreversible process. It's like when you use Clorox. It's also, they found it here in the islands and also at the Great Barrier Reef of Australia. The other thing you do not want to do when you're in a coral reef setting is stick your hand in a hole. Because if you do, you're out to meet my friend Fred. You don't want to necessarily meet Fred because he'll be your worst nightmare. Hawaiian name, Puhi. English name, Moray eel. You see something going like that, just back off. They will not strike unless you provoke them. And for the most part, Moray eels are actually very shy and docile creatures, and they really are. That's why they stare in their holes. So there are a lot of creatures that are very friendly. The Moray eel is not. But if you're in the water, and the Andersons were chatting when they're at Hanauma Bay a couple days ago, they saw a green sea turtle. They knew what to do, stay away from it. They took pictures. But if you ever see the honu come up next to you, take it for what it is. It's a gift of nature. It could be your ancestral deity. In Hawaiian, Amakua, family guardian, family spirit. Every family has one, and we share Amakua. It could be the honu, which is that turtle, the eel, which is the hawk, the pu'eo, the owl, or the mano, the shark. Our family Amakua is the mano. How do we know this? Through the generation of the handing down of the oral history of our families. But if you see a green sea turtle basking on the beach and in the sun like you would, leave them alone. They've had a very difficult time just surviving on their own. That turtle has actually made a remarkable recovery in Hawaii. This is the time of year that we also try to protect the little fledglings of the hawksbill turtles. We've seen them just go break out of their shells and right into the water. The other endangered ocean turtle is the loggerhead. But one of the most critically endangered marine mammals inhabits the Hawaiian Islands. That's the Hawaiian monk seal. There are approximately 1,100 left in the archipelago, about 100 in the 8 major islands. Their population is dwindling at 4% a year. And within maybe 10 to 15 years, there'll only be a few hundred left. They're not really sure why. One reason, of course, sharks are major predators, not only for the seal pups, but also turtles. Could be food sources, water pollution, getting caught up in nets. But sometimes the monk seals will just pop up Waikiki Beach. And if they do, you know, the state officials will generally cordon off the area, take lots of pictures. It looks like just a big blob. And when I have found them and showed them to my groups, the first question, is it alive? Yeah, it's alive. They just cruise, plop, and then they just disappear. Because those seals have been known to bite people. That seal has got a lot more protection because they are fairly protected already, but the state has increased the penalty if you injure them. You can be sent to jail for 5 years and fined up to $250,000. But unfortunately, people being people, last year on the island of Kauai, one monk seal was beheaded and 2 other seals were shot with high-powered rifles. Who knows what? So if you go over to the Waikiki Aquarium, you'll see 2 monk seals in captivity. But there's all sorts of beautiful marine life you can take in. The Andersons are heading out to the west side to see if they can find some spinner dolphins out there. They're there. The tours that take you out there don't go looking for the dolphins. They're just right there. Spinner dolphins are a lot smaller than Atlantic or Pacific bottlenose, about 6 to 8 feet. And those, you've seen it, those go like that, just do circles. So you can see it's turned out to be a very lovely day. For all the clouds and a little bit of sprinkles. The one time of the day that you want to avoid extreme exposure is between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. That's when the sun is at its zenith. Now today probably got up to maybe 87, 88 degrees. So temperature is important, but intensity of the sun is also important. We are less than 1,000 miles from the equator. So if you watch the local news, the weather part, you'll see UV rating. 10 and above is extreme. You'll also see another column, minutes. The other column would indicate skin complexion. Okay. All of you are fair skin. In 7 to 19 minutes, you will have a burn. Okay, that's how quickly. So, I know there's a lot of confusion about sunscreen and things like that, but put it on. Okay, wear a hat. Generally, you want to put it on minimum 15 minutes, but 30 minutes is a lot better. And if you're going to go in and out of the water, reapply yourself every time you go in and out. Being in this business, I can tell you, like last week, I had this young couple. If you had seen their feet, you would have gone, that's how bad it was. If they had gone out to the beach that day, they would have got to the point where they wouldn't have been able to walk. Feet got swollen. So your feet are one of those little sensitive areas. Your earlobe and behind your back of your knee. If you got those sprays, keep the can about 2 to 3 inches away. That way you can cover every area. Okay? So put on the sunscreen, whatever brand. I use an SPF 50. And I have seen many different shades and degrees of one color. Pink. Well done, lobster. You don't want to be like that. That hurts. And, like last summer, out in Kiona, June, it's 92 degrees, no wind, beautiful day. I forget to bring sunscreen. I only have one t-shirt because I have to go to a function, so I didn't want them to get all wet. 6 hours later, what do you think my body looked like? And when I took a shower, you could have heard me scream all the way back to Kentucky. I live here, I know that. You can call me stupid, yeah. But, yeah. Yeah, this is the Kahala Mall. It's one of 4 regional shopping centers on the island of Oahu. Of course, the Ala Moana is acknowledged as the world's largest open mall, and that's where the largest fireworks display will take place. Now, I don't recommend you go down. And that's because they're expecting in upwards of 50, maybe 60,000 people. They're letting people camp out and then close out the park later on tonight. Or if you want to go down, try and sit on the Ala Moana, the center side, right by Macy's. You can find a little spot, you can put your beach blanket, whatever. But I would just suggest going to the beach, sitting up there, and watching it from that point. I forget what time it starts though. 8:30? Yeah.
As long as he's pleasant, I don't care. When he gets mean, it's, I can't deal with it.
Kahala has always been considered the most prestigious residential area on Oahu. But all the land in Kahala that these homes sit on is all leasehold, and it's also owned by the Kamehameha Schools. Are there any stars that live in this area? No. Most of the celebrities that live in Hawaii retain homes on the island of Maui, whether it be Oprah Winfrey, Britney Spears, Woody Harrelson, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, Bette Midler, although she was, her father's a captain in the United States Navy. So she grew up here, but her real home is in New York City. She does have a home on Kauai. Pierre Brosnan and his family live on Kauai. But a gentleman who pretty much is a recluse, he's 82 years old, that's W.S. Merwin. And I've never read any of his poetry, but he will become America's newest poet laureate sometime in the next month or so. He lives in his old plantation. Okay, this is the Wildlife Country Club and Golf Course, and this is where the Sony Open is played the second week of January. There are two billionaires that live in Hawaii sometime throughout the year. One is Genjiro Kawamoto from Japan, the other is Stanley Ho, who lives in Hong Kong. If you have been in Hong Kong and gambled in Hong Kong or Macau, you probably gambled at one of his casinos. Stanley Ho owns the majority of the casinos there. Genjiro Kawamoto, in the last 10 years, purchased 24 homes in the Kahala area. At one time, valued in excess of $200 million. He has put 7 of those homes up for sale. I think 3 of them have already been purchased. But when you look at the houses, okay, you notice they're all bust up, derelict. You buy the home, I think one of them was sold for $5.5 million. And then you've got to figure out how much more you're going to spend repairing it. Several years ago, he bought the old Hemeter estate for $12.5 million. Last year, he took out a permit for $12,000. This is what's left of a $12.5 million estate. Nothing. Okay, if you see the real estate sign, Choi, she is handling most of Kawamoto's selling of the homes. Okay, like this one to our right. What's wrong with it? All bust up. Okay. This one just got sold for that $5.5 million. This is another home. All bust up. You see that? This at one time was an $8 million home. And I know what you're going to ask a two-part question. So he bought the homes and then let them run down? Yes. Okay. Now the other half of that question is, why? I don't know. You'd have to ask Mr. Kawamoto. Is he that eccentric of a billionaire? Yes. But you as John Q. Public, jump boards, don't buy them. Okay, you as John Q. Public have the public right of way to the beach, like on the North Shore. Now I'll show you what I mean here. Okay, if you see where the blue car is, look over to your left. You see the little alleyway here? Right here. Okay. Public right of way. The high water mark, which is the vegetation line, denotes the property line. Everything below that is property. There are no private beaches in the state of Hawaii. And that's the way it should be. Okay? That way you and I have access to that. But that's becoming a really hot topic with a lot of states that have shorelines. Like New Jersey is going to let's let the counties and townships handle the shoreline problems. And what a lot of townships do in New Jersey, they just don't allow any food and they don't have any restrooms, so you don't want to go to that kind of beach. So you can use whatever adjective you want: Millionaires Row, Gold Coast, Beverly Hills, Hawaii. 15 years ago, Kahala was most definitely in that category. Not anymore. We're coming up to Hawaii's most prominent landmark, Le'ahi, Ring of Fire or Wreath of Fire. English name, Diamond Head. Like Kaiwi, there is a trail that will take you up to the summit of this crater. It's an above moderate hike, roughly 3/4 of a mile in length. Should take you about 45 minutes. But like Kaiwi, do it early in the morning or late in the afternoon. When you get up to the summit, you will be rewarded with an incredible view of Waikiki and the surrounding area. A couple interesting parts of the trail. There is a tunnel which is pitch black, and then there are 99 steps. But lots of public transportation. That same 22 bus will get you out to Hanauma Bay, 23 and the 58. And remember, bus fare now $2.50. The city, for the last few years, constructed exercise areas for dogs only. No kitty cats allowed. Kitty cats have 9 lives. But they'll lose one of those lives if they come into Bark Park. That's where I bring my dogs. Okay, this is where the bus would drop you off, okay? And then, just walk across the street and pick up any bus bound, okay? Real simple. The user fee is $1. The user fee at Hanauma Bay, $7.50. Okay, you saw the fireworks. Hopefully you're in Waikiki last night at the Hilton Hawaiian Village.
Yes.
And if you want to make your way down to the Aloha Tower Marketplace, it's right on the waterfront. They'll have their fireworks there. Kailua will have theirs. They're raising enough money to do it. And then again the big one tomorrow night. Or we're going to get out to some of the outlying areas at Schofield. Pearl Harbor will have theirs. Turtle Bay. What you're looking down at is Waikiki. Fresh and spouting water. 640 acres, which translates to 1 square mile. On any given daily basis, especially now, you can find upwards of 140 to 160,000 people in Waikiki. So what's there to do? Head out to the beach for a little bit and then figure out what you want to eat. There's lots of restaurants. You can go to Ala Moana Center, check out their food court. When we're down a little bit further to Ward Warehouse, you find Dave & Buster's and a great local restaurant in terms of local comfort food, Big City Diner. There's also a 16 cinema plex. Eclipse has opened up. Don't go see the remake of Karate Kid. It's really bad. You just can't beat old Pat Morita. Okay? Toy Story is great. I like that movie. Now, for those of you at the Embassy Suites, okay, go get your little life preserver, sit in the pool, and then watch the movie tonight. Or have something at the Embassy Suites. I forget which movie they're going to show. Oh, it came out last year. Doggone it.
What is it?
This is the African savanna side of the Honolulu Zoo. And look over to your left. Anybody see the giraffes? Oh,
Yes.
there they are. Okay. They have in that area. They have giraffes, zebras, and a black rhino. When they brought the black rhino to Hawaii, they didn't have a compound for it. So they put the black rhino in the zebra's compound. Bad mistake. That black rhino just terrorized those zebras to the point that the zebras lost all their stripes. So I go help my friend. She's a kindergarten teacher, and I read to the kindergartners. And I tell the same story like I did. And so the one 5-year-old asked me, Uncle Collins, did that really happen? I said, yes, it really happened. And then he asked, well, who painted all the stripes back? And you know, that 5-year-old kid got me. Okay, we're going to start our drop-offs. We'll do the Embassy Suites, maybe the Ohia, Embassy Suites, Haleakala, and then the Hilton. When you get back to your respective hotels, please make sure you check around you for any and all personal belongings you've been brought on board. If you made purchases throughout the day, don't forget to take this with you. If you paid money for it, I'm sure you'll enjoy it for yourself and not for friends. So that, folks, whatever you choose, you decide to leave for me, I keep. And then you know where we're going to meet tomorrow morning, bright and early, Aloha Stadium, Flea Market, okay? So take a quick look around you. Again, mahalo for choosing Ainoa.